Hello everybody. How are you? I hope you are all doing well during this strange period of time. Hello. It's been very nice for me at home. My boyfriend and I have been doing things around the house, doing a little bit of gardening, which is nice. We were very lucky. Last week we had sunshine. It was beautiful, and I sat in the garden and I was just wearing a t-shirt, and it was lovely. So in that sense, it's been quite pleasant. Hello, thank you for joining. So as always during this talk, if you have any questions, let me know. We're actually going to be talking about synonyms today, which is a fantastic word, synonym. And a synonym is a word or a phrase that means exactly or nearly the same thing as another word. And let me just spin you round so you can see this is how synonym. And on the next slide I've got some synonyms for synonym. So a few words that have the same meaning as synonyms. So equivalence, likeness, match, alikeness, and equality. So hello, thanks for joining. Hello. So we're going to be talking about words that have multiple, lots of words that can be used to describe. I'm mainly going to be focusing on words to describe people and different synonyms for that. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So for example, a synonym could be to describe someone as tall. I'm quite tall. I'm about 5'9", which is quite tall. And so I could be described as tall. If I was really tall, like if I was 6 foot, which is quite tall for a woman, I could be described as lanky, which is a great word, but lanky means exceptionally tall. So very, very tall. If someone is lanky, they're extremely tall. So I'm just going to go through and give you some examples of how you can use these words in sentences. I'm going to spin the camera around so you can see what I'm seeing. And as always, any questions or if you have any examples that you want to share, please do. And also, if there's any if you want a synonym for a certain word, then ask me and I can see if I can think of some examples. So let's spin this little camera around. Okay, so as I was saying, a synonym is just another word to describe tall. Now, the word high, the example we've got here, the house has a high wall all the way around it. You would not describe a person as high. You could only describe an object or something like a building. You're high up when you go up the Eiffel Tower. That building, and you could also say that building is tall, but you would never describe a person as high. Leggy is a fantastic way to describe someone. Here it says she was a leggy redhead with a terrific figure. So if someone's leggy, it means they have long legs. So you would normally use it as a compliment, leggy. Like for example, my sister, she's leggy because she's got really long legs. Beautiful. I'm going to skip this one, altitudinous, because that's to do with a high altitude, if you were climbing a mountain. But this is not a very common word. Towering. Oh, that's a fantastic word. The coastline consists of wild, towering cliffs. So again, hello, thank you for joining. We're just talking about synonyms today. So I wouldn't describe a person as towering. I would describe a building as like cliffs, the towering cliffs. Saying that, let me give you an example. Oh, sorry, you see my washing over there. If someone was towering over someone, then that's a way of maybe intimidating that person. So, for example, if I was in a classroom and I hadn't done my homework, the teacher might tower over me, and they might just be standing there giving me a look like, you've not done your homework. They're towering over me. And again, lanky. To describe someone as lanky, it means they're very tall. I don't know if you know, there's a footballer called Peter Crouch. I don't know why he's come to mind, but he has. I would describe him as lanky. I think he's like 6'5", so that's very tall. Yeah, so there are some different words to describe tall. Like I say, you wouldn't describe someone as high because that's not the same meaning, but you could describe someone as tall, lanky. And then the antonym, so the antonym is the opposite meaning. So for example, for someone, hello, sorry, I'm back. So to describe someone as tall, the antonym, so the opposite, would be small. So now let's go through some describing words for small, some synonyms for small. Oh, that's almost like a tongue twister. Small synonyms. See if you can say that 3 times. Okay, so let's have a look. Small. So you could describe a person as small in stature. Another great word for describing someone as small, and this is obviously a French word, petite. Someone's like my mum. I would say my mum is petite. She's about 5'2", maybe 5'3", and so she's quite petite and slender. Now you wouldn't describe a person as microscopic. Microscopic is probably more the scientific use. So something is really, 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 really small. So small you can't see it unless you used a microscope, which you'd look through. So something is microscopic. It means incredibly tiny. So we've got tiny. Another way you could describe a person as tiny. Microscopic, petite, scanty. We wouldn't really use that to describe someone, I don't think. Modest. Modest has multiple meanings. So if you're modest, it means you're not arrogant. And you could also, trying to think how to describe modest. We'll come back to that one. Midget. Now, the word midget, that's a bit of an insult. That's a bit of a mean way to describe someone as small. You'd say, oh, that kid, he's a little midget. That's not a nice way to describe someone as, that's someone who's very small. Let's have a look. So we've a few of these. Little, obviously, someone is small, they're little. Itty bitty. You wouldn't really use that. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be very common. Teeny weensy, or teeny weeny, I would say, without the S. Teeny weeny means very small. So you could describe maybe a toddler. Oh, that toddler's teeny weeny. This word, now this is the same spelling as minute, but it's pronounced minute. So if something's small, it's minute. Puny, again, probably not a nice way to describe someone as puny, but it could be if someone's really small. And like geeky, puny. Mini, that's a good one. You just have the car, mini, called a mini because it's small. Slender. Now this would be to describe someone who is Thin or slim, someone who is probably healthy, they're slender. And I've got some more synonyms for this word a bit later on. Micro. Again, you wouldn't use this to describe you wouldn't say, oh, that person is micro, but you could say, when would you use the word micro? Oh, I'm a bit stumped. It's just a word for small, but you wouldn't. Yeah, my boyfriend's listening to this, and he said microaggression. That's quite a common phrase you might hear nowadays to describe a word or a phrase that's upsetting to some people. Pitiful. Let's ignore that word for now. So yeah, there's lots of synonyms there for small. I think my favourite is petite or itty bitty. That's great. And lots of ways to describe someone as small. Now, the word beautiful. Obviously, there's a great expression in English. We say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, which just means that it's your opinion what you find beautiful. Some people prefer dark hair, some people prefer blonde hair, tall, short, fat, thin. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder. There's hundreds of words for beautiful. Most of these I just found looking online. So let's go through and I'll give you some examples of when we would use the word beautiful. Obviously, to describe someone such as myself, you might use it. So let's have a look. So charming. Now, charming, you would probably use, you might have heard Prince Charming. If you've ever watched Disney, there's Prince Charming. He's often very nice, very smooth, often handsome or good looking. You're charming if you have good manners. So there's charming. Captivating. Now that is a lovely word. I would probably say if you were describing a beautiful view, so if you were at the beach and you were looking at the sunset, you could say, wow, this view is captivating. It's so beautiful. You could use captivating to describe a person as well. Let's see what else we've got. Superb, wonderful, stunning. That's a fantastic word. If someone is stunning, they're gorgeous. You could say, oh, that person's a stunner. A stunner. Bewitching. Ooh, I like that. Bewitching. That means sort of uniquely beautiful. She bewitched me with her looks, someone might say. Sublime. So again, you wouldn't really, don't think you would say, oh, that person's sublime. But you could say, that dessert was sublime. That cake you made was sublime. Winning, beauteous, well-formed, tempting, teasing, tantalising. Let's see, what else have we got? Appealing. So appealing can be used in multiple ways as well. You could say they had an appealing face, which is kind of quite polite, just saying, oh, they had a nice face. But you could also use it again with food. Oh, that looks appealing, that looks yummy. Or even, a house, you're viewing a house. Oh, the kitchen is appealing to me because it's got a lot of space, for example. Pretty, someone's beautiful, they're pretty. Pleasing to the eye, pleasing to look at. Angelic, so like an angel. Nice, splendid. Shapely, that's quite a nice word. That could be used to describe someone who's curvy. So maybe big hips. Shapely. Oh, this is lovely. Resplendent. That's a great word. Resplendent. Ravishing. Oh, that is, if someone looks absolutely amazing, you could say, oh, they look ravishing. It's a fantastic word. Radiant. You might hear this word if someone's pregnant. You might say, oh, they were glowing. They looked radiant. So it's often radiant is a great way to describe someone who looks really healthy. They might have a glow to their face. They're radiant. Mesmeric. Ooh, not really heard that before. If someone's mesmeric, they're mesmerising. And mesmerising is like captivating. For example, in a movie, if there's an amazingly stunning, beautiful woman, you might say, oh, they're mesmerising. You can't help but sort of look at them. So let's keep going. There's loads of synonyms for beautiful. Gorgeous, that's very common. All right, love, you look gorgeous. Magnificent, magnetic, lovely. Good looking, someone's good looking. Now, handsome can be used, it's predominantly used in men. So, oh, I could say my boyfriend is incredibly handsome. But you can use it for women as well. She was a handsome woman, but not as common. Mostly you describe women as gorgeous, beautiful, lovely. Handsome tends to just be used for men. Oh, this is a fantastic word. Alluring. If you allure someone or you're alluring, it means that you're good looking, basically. Graceful. You might describe someone like a princess or someone who's graceful. I bet people would use this word to describe Kate Middleton, for example. She's quite graceful. Elegant would be another word. Grand, foxy, fine, fetching. Let's see what else. Divine. Oh, that's fantastic. That's a great word. Someone is divine. Elegant, exquisite. That means like, again, like uniquely beautiful. They were exquisite. Adorable and cute. That would be, you might describe a partner. Oh, you're being so adorable. But you could also use this, for example, I describe my cats as adorable. Oh, Giles and Wesley, you're so cute. You're so adorable. So it's normally someone sweet. Delightful. Fair. So fair has multiple meanings, but in this case, if someone's fair, they've probably got light skin and yeah, enticing, enthralling, dazzling. Whoa, you would use that to really describe someone. Maybe if they were really dressed up, they were dazzling. Classy. Again, someone like Kate Middleton, you might describe her as elegant and classy. Classy means you carry yourself with a certain air. You probably dress nicely. You would say someone's classy maybe if they were like upper class, if they looked particularly nice. But it's more how you might carry yourself. For example, if someone was drunk and falling over, you would be like, oh, not very classy. But if someone held themselves with good like posture and they were composed and spoke well, you could say they're classy or classy if you're up north. So let's think. Now, the opposite, the antonym of beautiful would be ugly. Something's ugly, it's unattractive. So I've got a few examples for you here. Now, unattractive just means not good looking. Hideous, that would be a really harsh way to describe someone. Oh my God, I went on a date last night and he was hideous. That could also be used to describe someone's personality and how they look. I'm trying to think of an example, maybe in like a movie, there's an evil character, they're hideous, ugly, grotesque. If someone's grotesque, it means they're almost deformed, not natural, like a gargoyle or a monster. Grotesque, frightful, offensive, vile. Oh, my mum loves this word, vile. If someone's vile, they're nasty, they're not nice. You could also say the weather was vile. My grandma says that. Oh, Natasha, the weather was vile yesterday. It was really raining. So lots of uses for the word vile. Grim or grimly. If you watched, sometimes, do you ever watch like sad movies or things like that? You might say, oh, that was a bit grim, a bit dark, a bit downbeat, a bit sad, grim. And again, the weather is grim outside today. Just meaning it's cloudy, it's rainy, it's not very nice, it's a bit grim. You probably wouldn't describe a person as grim, but you could describe them as unattractive, ugly, hideous. Okay, and thank you for those who are still listening. And as always, any questions or any comments, let me know. Okay, so let's think of some synonyms for the word fat. Now, fat, obviously, if you're overweight, it's quite a nasty word to describe someone as fat. A lot of people wouldn't like to be called fat, obviously. In England, let's say you went to the doctors and you were fat, they would say you're overweight. Or if you're really, really fat, like huge, you would be morbidly obese, which means you're dangerously overweight. You're very, very fat. So obese is how you would describe someone who is overweight. So let's have a look at some other synonyms. So, fat, bulky. David is a bulky man with balding hair. So bulky might not mean that they're fat, but they're just quite large, maybe quite broad, bulky man. Heavy. My brother is much heavier than me. Or you could say, oh, I must go on a diet. I'm getting a bit on the heavy side. Meaning I'm a bit overweight, I'm a bit heavy. Plump. Now, if anyone has read the Harry Potter books, you could describe, what's her name? Mrs. Weasley. In the books, I think they describe her as plump. And I think that's quite a nice way to describe someone, maybe an older lady or an older gentleman. They're a little plump, a little bit big. And great question here, is obesity a real problem in England? It is a problem. I would say it definitely is a problem, especially in schools. You're getting far more overweight kids than, say 10, 20 years ago. I mean, I work in a school and there's not many students that are overweight, but there are a few. And a lot of adults. I mean, it's a big problem in my hometown, Crawley. There was a lot of obese people, a lot of very big people. And I mean, from my perspective, my opinion is it's because cheap food is often poor quality, and a lot of people, junk food, exactly. It's a big problem. People are just not educated. I mean, I had so many students who would get takeaway food multiple times a week, which is crazy, the cost of that, and obviously how unhealthy, generally speaking, takeaway food is. So it is a problem, and a lot of people say that you can eat really healthy for cheap, but you have to be, which you can, but you have to be quite you have to know what you're doing. And nutrition, things like that. You do a lesson at school called food technology, which does teach you, some of the basics, but to be honest, it's not taught as well as it should be. And yeah, if you go to the supermarket, you could feed your family junk food really cheaply, and it's cheaper than buying lots of salad and lots of healthy good things. So yeah, it is sad. It is a problem, and I feel sorry for children who are obese, because it's not really their fault. It's whatever their parents are feeding them. So yeah, that is what I think about that. It is quite sad, quite shocking in some places in England. And you go to London and everyone's quite slim and healthy and fit. So it really, where you live matters as well. Good question. Thank you. So yeah, so let's have some more synonyms. So plump, Mrs. Weasley, she's plump in the Harry Potter books. Overweight, she was only a few pounds overweight. So pounds is in the weight, pounds, kilograms, etc. Obese patients are given dietary advice. Chubby, that could be a way to describe someone. Oh, they're a little chubby, but not overweight. Maybe chubby. You could describe also. When you get lovely fat little babies, chubby babies. That's what I think of when I think of the word chubby. This word, roly-poly. He was a roly-poly little man. That's quite a funny way of saying someone's quite short and dumpy. Dumpy's another great word. They were a roly-poly, really probably quite small and fat. A roly-poly is also, I can't demonstrate because I'll probably break my neck, but it's where you do like a forward roll, so you roll on the ground. That's also called a roly-poly. And what else? Big. She is very big. Obviously, you could also describe the building was big. I had a big dinner last night. But you could also describe a person as big. She was about my height, but chunky. Oh, this is a fantastic word. Chunky. Again, it means you're a little bit overweight. You're chunky. Large. Hefty. She was quite a hefty woman. If anyone's seen Matilda, and you know Mrs. Trunchbull, I would say she's a hefty woman, a big, broad woman. So there's some synonyms for the word fat. And then the antonym, so the opposite of fat, would be slim. And here's a few ways to describe someone that's slim or thin. Slender, slim, thin, skinny, scrawny. Scrawny is probably not a very nice way to describe someone that's thin. Maybe if someone's very thin, you might say, oh, they look scrawny, but that's not nice. That's not a compliment. Bony as well. If someone's bony, that means they're very, very, very thin, like extremely thin. Probably unhealthily thin. But a nice way to describe someone who's very thin would be slender or slim. She's a slim woman, or he's a slender man. These two are nice. Thin, a lot of people don't like to be called thin, but again, it's a describing word, and it's fine really. But skinny, scrawny and bony, these three I'd say are quite negative. People wouldn't like to be described this way. Okie dokie, so what have we got next? Oh, okay, pale. Okay, now, if you look at my face, I am classic English rose. I'm very pale. Hardly had any sunshine. I'm naturally very pale. And yeah, another great question. Thank you. Are there lots of cases of anorexia? There again. I think anorexia is on the rise in England because of social media. I would say is probably an obvious contribution. And not just in girls, actually, there's a huge rise of cases with anorexia with boys as well. So absolutely, it is a big problem. I don't know the numbers, but I know from things I've listened to and watched, it has increased. And obviously it's a mental health condition. And again, that's very, very sad. It must be extremely hard to manage. I know my second cousin had anorexia when she was young. She's in her 50s now, but it's something she's lived with her whole life. So it's obviously a really hard illness to overcome, and yeah, sadly, very common as well. What's it like in Russia? I wonder what it's like. Do you have these issues over there? Do you have obesity problems, and do you have anorexia over there? Yeah, let me know. I'd be curious to know how that is. Okay, so synonyms for pale. So I'm pale. I'm very pale. Even in the summer, I don't change that much. You won't see me with a tan in 6 months' time, unfortunately. So some synonyms for pale: blanched, bleached, dim. Dim has multiple meanings as well. If someone's dim, you could say they're a little stupid, they're a bit dim. I wouldn't really use it to describe. Sorry, video pause there. Faded, faint. Again, multiple meanings. Something is faint, it's pale, it's hard to see. But you can also faint, which means pass out if you collapsed. Grey, and this word, haggard. Oh my goodness, this is a fantastic word. Again, not a nice word. If you describe someone as haggard, it means they're really tired, really pale looking, don't look good. And also you could describe yourself as haggard. You could say, oh, I've had such an exhausting week and now I've got a cold and I feel terrible, I'm haggard. So again, quite an extreme word. And yes, there are such problems in Russia as well. Yeah, it must be the world over. Yeah, I mean, I wonder what countries don't struggle with these kind of things. But yeah, I do think social media has a big influence on eating disorders. I mean, obesity is obviously an eating disorder as much as anorexia is. Yeah, sad. Okay, so the opposite of someone who's pale, they're tanned. So my sister, she is like a golden goddess, honestly. She is as pale as I am. My sister is the opposite. Golden brown skin. In the summer, she sits in the sun and sizzles because she just can have the sun on her, no problem. And I have to wear lots of sunscreen and a hat and cover up because I will burn quite easily. So my sister, I would describe her as suntanned or bronzed. Bronzed is a really nice way to describe someone with a good tan. Wow, you're really bronzed, you look beautiful. And what else have we got? So thinking of all these ways to describe someone, also it's important to acknowledge body language is very telling, meaning that you can learn a lot about someone from their body language. So if I was hunched over and, you know, maybe with my head down and I'm walking along, you could understand a lot from my body language. And generally we split people into two categories. We say they're an extrovert or they're an introvert. So an extrovert would be someone who likes to go out, they're very social, they do lots of things, they're quite happy meeting new people or experiencing new places or environments. And And an introvert, the way to remember it is introvert in. Someone who likes to stay inside, maybe they're a little shy. So these two words, we tend to fit people into these two categories. And I've got lots of synonyms to describe an extrovert. So, someone who's friendly, excited, chatty. So they talk a lot, a bit like me, I'm quite chatty. Outgoing. Someone's outgoing, they're an extrovert. Chatterbox. What other great words? Laughter, chit chat. Babbling. That's quite a good word. Positive. If you're an extrovert, doesn't necessarily mean you're positive, but yeah. So that's an extrovert personality, and someone who is an introvert might be thoughtful, a deep thinker, so maybe spend some time, lost in their own thoughts, and they might be good listeners, creative, independent readers, a calming presence. I quite like that. Quite calm, cautious, maybe shy. So when you describe people, you could also describe them depending on their personality. You could also describe them in, how they appear, how they seem, they look. Oh, they're lost in thought. They're thoughtful. I have a bunch more that I'm going to talk through, but actually I want to show you a website before we move on. Now, this website is absolutely amazing. It's called freerice.com, and it is basically, I just love this website. Every question that you do, and I'm going to go through some examples, that it donates rice to charity and literally feeds the world. They make money through their advertisements. So for example here, grains of rice donated yesterday, 8,514,170. So that's how much rice was donated yesterday, meaning that that's probably fed however many families across the world. And this website is fantastic because not only does it have maths and science and all sorts of different categories, it also is brilliant to learn new vocabulary. So it comes up with a synonym for the word cloth. So cloth is another word for fabric. Let's do a few. So if I click on fabric, which is correct, and then 10 grains of rice. And a grain is literally like one grain, one tiny bit of rice. Regular, costly, exhausted, plump, or ordinary. Ooh, I'm going to say ordinary. Regular means ordinary. So, and then another 10 grains of rice. So if you want to expand your vocabulary, get on freerice.com. It's absolutely fantastic. And you can and it gets harder and harder, and you can set the level. So scared, another word for scared. I'm frightened. I'm scared. Sloppy. Oh, that's a great word. I'm messy. If I'm sloppy, I'm really messy, maybe dirty. My house is it's sloppy. You could also be a sloppy person. Or I'm really sloppy, I leave my underwear on the floor, for example. Fearless. So another word for fearless would be brave. And you can set yourself a challenge. I'm going to say during this talk, let's get to 100 grains of rice. We're at 50 so far. Nasty. Probably filthy. Nasty, not very nice. Groan. Another word, moan. Insane means crazy. You're a crazy person. Advance means move forward. I'm going to advance to the next level in my game. Wallet. Foot, billfold, ornament or evaluation. Well, I put my money in my wallet, so it's a bill. And there you go. Easy as that. 100 grains of rice donated to charity. So this is a fantastic way to expand your vocabulary and test your meaning on this stuff. I always get my students to do it. I think it's a fantastic way to learn new words. And also there's, like I said, there's maths on there, there's science, geography, all sorts of cool stuff. So check it out. All right, let's do a few more synonyms. So this synonyms for the word good. So you could describe someone, they have a good personality, or they're, you know, friendly. So let's go through a few of these. If someone is agreeable, that's a really nice way of just saying, like, easygoing. They're an agreeable person, quite easy to get along with. Altruistic. If someone is altruistic, they're quite selfless, meaning they do things for other people. So at the moment, with the coronavirus, in my community, there's a Facebook group and people are doing altruistic acts. So they're going to buy shopping for someone else so they don't have to leave the house. And that's an act of altruism. So that's a fantastic word. Amiable. Amiable. Someone who's good, easy to get on with. Amicable. I could say my boyfriend is amicable. He gets on with lots of people. Beneficent, benevolent, benign, charitable, compassionate. If you're compassionate, it means that you're kind and, you know, you care about other people. Cordial, decent, friendly, gentle. Gracious. That's a lovely word. If someone's gracious, they're really kind, really caring, really giving. Humane, kindly, mannerly, nice. Tolerant. If you're tolerant, that means that you're tolerant of other people. So, for example, you might be tolerant of other people's religions. So, if someone believes in Christianity and someone else believes in Hinduism, you're tolerant of their religion. You accept it. Admirable. So I admire my students because they work really hard. They are admirable people. They're hardworking, good people. Attractive, yay. So that was like earlier, beautiful, attractive, good, desirable, excellent. Oh, peachy. That's quite a good word. You could say, if someone said, "Oh, how are you?" You could say, "Oh, everything's peachy. Yeah, everything's good." Superior. If someone is superior to you, for example, my boss is my superior. He's my boss. You could also say they have superior good looks, I guess. I'm not too sure about using it in that sense. Let's see what else we've got. Good, honest, moral, noble, perfect, unblemished. So this is not the case for me. I have spots on my face, but if I had good clear skin, I could be unblemished. Virtuous, wholesome. So there's a few good synonyms for the word good. Just going to sort of put this here for a second, because if you want to make any notes. And hello, everyone who's joining. Thank you very much. Okay, so the antonym, the opposite word for good is bad. Poor, substandard. If something's substandard, it's not good enough. Inferior, second rate, second class, inadequate, unacceptable, not up to scratch or not up to par. That means not good enough. If I went to a hotel and my bedroom was full of cockroaches, I could say, this hotel is not up to scratch. It is not good enough. It's unacceptable. I don't want to be in a room with cockroaches. Imperfect, so opposite of perfect, imperfect. Careless, negligent. If someone is negligent, it means they're not good. So if someone's negligent at their job, that means they're bad at their job in a really negative way. So, for example, you could say, oh, the doctor was negligent. They cut off the wrong leg when they did surgery. Miserable, rotten, incompetent means you're not competent at your job. You're not good at your job. Let's see a few of these. Awful, atrocious. That's a fantastic word. If something's atrocious, it's really, really, really bad. The weather was atrocious last night. There was a big storm and loads of trees came down. Appalling, deplorable, terrible. This word's great. Abysmal. Oh, it was so bad. It was abysmal. Crummy. God awful. Just means really terrible. Awful. God awful. Pathetic. Useless. Woeful. Bum. Lousy. Lousy is a great word if something's bad. You could also say, so you could describe something as lousy, but you could also say, oh, I'm feeling really lousy today. I'm not feeling well. I'm feeling lousy. Another word for bad. Let's go through a few more. And again, we've got 10 minutes left. So if you've got any questions or want me to, you have a word that you would like a better word for, I can try and think of something for you. So, synonyms for big, happy and smart. We kind of did big at the beginning: towering, huge, large, great, gigantic, immense. Immense has multiple meanings here. So I could say the building was immense, it was huge. But I could also say, oh, I went to a gig last night, it was immense, meaning it was really good. Colossal. A colossal means gigantic, huge. The Grand Canyon is colossal. Giant, massive, tremendous, enormous, mammoth, hefty, full. And here's some synonyms for happy. I'm glad. That should say jovial. It says javial, but it should be jovial, meaning happy, joyful. Elated. I was elated that my football team won the game last night. Jolly just means happy. Pleased, merry, contented. Jubilant. So you'd be a jubilant at a wedding. It was a jubilant occasion. It was a very happy occasion. A celebrated occasion. Cheerful, thrilled, delighted, upbeat and peaceful. I was delighted to come home and find that my boyfriend had made me a 3-course dinner. And then smart. If someone's smart, witty. That's a fantastic word. If someone's quick on the ball, meaning they're quick to answer with something funny, they're witty. Like if you've got good banter with someone, you could describe them as witty. Bright, obviously it's got multiple meanings. I could say the sun was shining bright, but I could also say my brother Jack, he's really bright. He did really well in his exams. Wise, so you might have heard the expression a wise old owl. So someone who is wise, they're smart. Gifted, brilliant, sharp. So again, sharp has lots of meanings. My knife is sharp, or careful, that knife is really sharp. But I could also use it to describe someone who's smart. So someone is sharp. Elon Musk is very sharp. He's very smart. Clever, intelligent, ingenious, brainy, knowledgeable. Someone who knows a lot. Quick-witted, astute, and crafty. So there's some great synonyms there for big, happy and smart. And I think I've got one more slide. Let's not do the synonyms for brave. Let's look at this picture and think of some ways to describe it. I'm using some synonyms. So maybe if anyone's watching live, you could think of a synonym to describe this picture. So a synonym for the word beautiful. I could say this sunset looks beautiful. What else could I say? I could say it's gorgeous, divine, stunning. The view was absolutely stunning. Amazing, wonderful. So, I mean, the English language is great, isn't it? 'Cause there's so many ways to describe things. Oh, that's a good one. Captivating. I love that. Captivating view. Brilliant. Absolutely. This image here, I would describe this. This is sort of a fantasy image. So I might describe this. Perhaps you can join me thinking of something to describe it. I would say fantastical or magical. What else could you use to describe this image? Also quite beautiful. Intriguing as well. It's quite an interesting image. Ooh, picturesque. Lovely. Yeah, great word. Picturesque. Stunning. Picturesque. And let's do one more. This image, and I think this is again how you interpret things, but I could say that this is quite a bleak image, meaning it's quite empty, it's bleak, it's a little sad maybe, lonely, quiet, but lovely as well. Give me another good one for this one. I wonder where that is in the world. Snowy as well. You could say it's really the person is covered in snow. And I think that's about it. Oh, this this last person, I thought you could describe this person as weird or bizarre, odd, strange, silly. And this image at the end, this is quite gothic, so quite dark, gothic, horror. Oh yes, ridiculous. Yeah, great way to describe this person. They are ridiculous. And then here, yeah, just yeah, creepy, maybe, dark, mysterious. Yeah, so that's it really. Did you have any questions for us to finish up? I mean, like I say, use that Free Rice website because that has so many synonyms on there, and it's a great way to learn some new vocabulary. Also, probably the best way is reading books, because obviously the more you read, the more language you're going to learn. And yeah, I hope everyone is staying well. Like I say, we're having quite a nice time at home. Luckily for us, we're just staying in really and working from home, so we're quite fortunate. Let me show you. I can see my cat at the window, and yes, no worries. I hope you find it useful. I think with Free Rice, if you did 5 minutes every day, it would really massively help. Now to say goodbye, let me see my adorable, cute little cat. Hello, Giles. Oh, look, he's got a dirty nose. Should we let him in? Giles, what have you been up to? I definitely think that Giles is adorable and cute. I could also say he's fluffy. Well, let me spin the camera around. Here he is, fluffy. I would describe him as handsome. Aren't you? You're very handsome. He's a very handsome cat. Looks a bit crazy eyes. Dirty nose. Go on then. Alright guys, thank you so much. And I'll speak to you all soon. As always, message if there's any topics or anything that you want to know. And until then, just take care of yourselves. And peace and love. Bye guys. Oh, bye.